get into the next update. This is Ally. This is a handheld Republic of Gamers, ROG. There has been media attention surrounding this. There is also a launch event happening on May 11th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the ROG Ally. There's much to unpack here, so let me get us started. First, there have been 2 leaks in the past 2 weeks, and these leaks have sourced primarily from Snoopy Tech on Twitter, and the leaks have been corroborated with Roland Quant, original sourcing from Best Buy for pricing and options. There are 2 options, fans and subscribers. The first one is with the AMD Ryzen Z1 Extreme. This has 512 gigabyte storage, and this goes for $699. Now, for option 2, if you're looking for a less expensive price, you have option 2 with the AMD Ryzen Z1. This is the vanilla Z1 processor. This one, though, has 256. The handheld has 256 gigabytes of storage, and this goes for $599. The question is, people are asking, is this the Steam Deck killer? And one can look at the specifications here by the processor, the ROG Ally compared to the Steam Deck. It does have a more powerful processor. We will also look into that with some specifications for the processor. But I do want to point out that the memory is using LPDDR5, and that allows optimization for gaming and streaming of games. It's very helpful with that. Both of them have 16 gigabytes for that. The screen is brighter, has more nits, 400 nits compared to 500 nits on the ROG Ally. Both of these can run Windows, and I have seen experiences vary with Windows on the Steam Deck, and it really seems to be, I mean, at least from what I've seen, a software-related focus, because depending on the optimization and the tweaking of performance settings, you can allow for Windows to work really well on the Steam Deck. So Brian, Steam Deck killer, what are your immediate thoughts on this and the AMD involvement for built? Yeah, I mean, you have the RGB,
So
and
I'll have to be completely honest. I feel like the
it lights
ROG
up.
Ally is 100% a Steam Deck clone, just built a little bit better. Like if you look at it, it's, ROG likes to try to one up people. They did the same thing with Razer. So Razer came out with the Razer phone. ROG came out with the ROG phone right after that, saying, "Oh no! You can't have 120 hertz display and vapor chamber cooling and release your phone at $700 and get away with it." So ROG steps into the space. Same thing happened with the Steam Deck. Steam Deck comes out. ROG goes, "Wait a second, we're not in the handheld space. We're in the phone space. Let's build a handheld and compete with these guys." Other companies have done it in the past. It's kind of just a wait and see. I do think hardware wise, it will outperform. There's a couple of features that come with that AMD chipset, which are fantastic. One of which allows for the system to actively change the settings of your game of your graphics to basically keep your temperature at a desired point, and you can set that in the software. So it's able to utilize a lot of AMD technologies that the older version of the processor, which was just a custom chip made by AMD, a lot of those features aren't able to be used. So I'm curious to find out what's going to happen with it. I think at that price point, they're kind of dealing with a niche market. It's basically going to be those people. This is going to be perfect for a family that's got spoiled kids, that they have a Switch, but they have a little PC that they play their Steam games on, and they want to be able to play Roblox on their handheld. That is what this is for. This is for the Rocket League players of the world, the Minecraft players of the world that want a handheld that's not a Nintendo Switch.
Those that
that's
are
what this is for.
audacious
And that's honestly what the handheld market is really geared towards, is those. I love these videos too. This video is fantastic. Who's going to be playing their ROG gaming handheld gaming thing on a go-kart?
Right there.
That was one of the
clips. I was just thinking.
This dude was on a go-kart playing this device. That is not happening.
That's how you get into a wreck and hurt yourself.
It's like, you know.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. You know, this guy's got it right. The guy that they just showed. He's chilling in his basement, playing on his handheld gaming console. That's the life. Nobody's taking.
What about the guy? What about the guy who gets locked out of his house and he's like, "Oh, I'm so relieved. I got my handheld with me."
People that have a tendency to get locked out. If you get locked out of your home and or a gamer, you need to think about the ROG Ally. It could be the handheld for you. And no, ROG did not pay us for that snippet right there. Promise. No money taken for that. Though, Brian, I want to pick up on what you just said. The cooling feature called the Radeon Chill. And it can automatically save power based on the frame rate targets of your choice. And it has its own frame limiter as well to optimize for the temperature of the processor. So that is interesting, because if you're trying to maximize what you get out of this handheld, how much do you want that Radeon Chill to take over for you? If you're on chill, I mean, yes, it's important to cool. No, not saying that isn't the case, but if you want to go in that danger zone a little bit to get those frame rates, that's going to be an interesting dilemma. What do you think? Am I wrong? You think people are going to look into that? However, I knew that was coming.
So here's what I'll be honest with you, Joe. It's specs wise.
Yes.
Specs wise, the ROG Ally is going to be awesome. It's going to be fantastic.
We have those numbers.
However,
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was my next.
All of the gaming specs that they have leaked
transition
and the benchmarks that they've leaked,
the resolution
have all been performing at 720p.
They did a great job
using AMD's upscaling.
They got these from AMD. They spoke directly with AMD to confirm some information. We will have that source in the description as well for those that want to take a deeper dive into this. But this is
beautiful
what I wanted to show you right here. Average FPS, low settings, 1080p, upscaled 720p with RSR. And this is done at low settings, as is shown here, to get these frame rates. So the device, it comes with a 1080p display, supporting up to 120 hertz. But for the best settings for the resolution, that's when I'm interested as far as tests. So from, oh, go ahead. Yeah, Amarita. Get one and find out. I mean, I have to answer all these questions for all the fans and subscribers out there. I am the one to make the sacrifice. So the one specific quote right here, with the Z1 Extreme, if you're playing at 720p with low settings, like you might comfortably do on a 7-inch.
I was going to say, I guess you're just going to have to get one, Joe.
It's going to look better on that smaller display than a much larger display, a 65-inch display, for example. AMD claims you can cross the 60 FPS line for games as demanding as and more than double that for Forza Horizon 4, all upscaled to 1080p with AMD's Radeon Super resolution. So here's, oh, go ahead. Thoughts?
I'm good.
So bear with me here.
You didn't have the 4K.
Remember when, and I say remember when, this was only about 5 years ago.
Absolutely.
When one of the most important qualities that you could buy in a TV was the ability for the TV to upscale a 1080p image of any type to 4K. It's the 4K upscaling, AI generated 4K upscaling. It was a big Sony thing, and then all the other companies started having a dedicated chip. Right. So, but it never quite looked the same. Like, it was passable, but you're not looking at a 4K image. The same can be said about 1080p. Now, on a small display, the difference will be negligible because you're talking about a very small, compact 1080p display. So when you're talking about pixel pitch, the distance between the pixels and things like that will be much smaller on a smaller display. However, your phone is a higher resolution than that screen.
Supporting,
So yes, you'll be able to play Windows games. You'll be able to do a whole lot of stuff that you can't do with your phone. However, one could argue
not all that are verified.
You could use a Microsoft Xbox controller or PlayStation controller with your phone and use either Xbox Cloud Gaming or PlayStation Network Gaming and play the game. You stream the game directly to your phone or iPad. Right. Yeah, higher resolution, it's a great solution to being able to play Steam games on a handheld.
Yeah. So
or PC exclusive titles. But you're not playing at 1080p, you're playing at 720p and being tricked into thinking you're playing on 1080p, and they're selling it as a 1080p product. When all of their benchmarks, they clearly state we're setting the game display to 720p, but you're seeing it in 1080p, or you think you're seeing it in 1080p because we're upscaling it. But that's becoming more and more common in gaming, because if you really pay attention to it, in the past 5 years, ever since AMD came on the market with their Disruptor card, there's really not been a whole lot of huge jumps in graphical processing abilities, at least since they came out with RDNA 2 and 3. So upscaling is kind of how they're trying to keep up with these AAA games, because you set the resolution a little bit lower.
I guess
the graphics card will last you a few years longer.
Which one you got?
Marketing a brand new product emerging onto the scene, relying on upscaling to deliver the base model or the base experience just to hit 60 frames per second.
For those listening on podcast,
you could probably hit the same thing buying a budget PC.
Let me just go through some of these numbers
using the same settings. You're paying for the portability. You're really getting a subpar gaming experience, but on a portable form factor, which makes it forgivable.
Fans, it's looking at an average. This is on the ROG Ally.
None of the above.
C1 chips. Average 41.8, Borderlands 3 62.2, Grand Theft Auto 5 97.5, Far Cry 6.
I'll just play Fallout Shelter on my Tesla
here, and this is at 1080p native, and we see here the comparison between the Z1 and the Z1 Extreme, so individuals can see, okay, if I pay $100 more, not only for the larger hard drive space or more hard drive space, how many more frames am I going to get? But before you think I'm going to buy this and play it at 720p or 1080p, and I'm going to get what looks like with the Z1 Extreme 121.7 with Forza Horizon 4, there is something you should know about these numbers. All of these benchmarks, according to what AMD revealed to The Verge and the source that we have, these benchmarks were run in the Ally's at mean. This lets the processor draw up to 30 watts depending on the game. Now, the Steam Deck processor runs at just half of that, at 15 watts. So what's interesting here, we go back to TDP, are we going to have to push the handheld, and we're going to have to cool down the Radeon Chill, take it down, to be able to achieve these numbers that we see here on the screen. And this is, I'm thinking out loud as to whether that to be the case. Brian, any thoughts on that hypothetical there? And that can be set just real quickly with the Armory Crate SE software too. Anyways.
So that's not even a hypothetical. You know, when you're talking about taking the device and you know, going through the settings, you have the same kind of thing. You can play with these same settings on any AMD system.
That's true.
That being said, if you're using the Radeon Chill, you're setting your frame rate caps. You're saying this is the minimum frame rate that I want to stick at.
Let's
at
see
reasonable
if I have
temperatures.
those numbers right here. I will charge from 0 to 50% in 30
Correct.
minutes. So,
so doing away, that, you're basically saying, hey, even if I'm using this turbo mode, I don't want to hit these temperatures, but keep me above this frame rate.
We're talking about quality time, waiting.
Well, now you're not going to get your max frame rates because you're pushing a bunch of power to your processor, creating a bunch of heat. On top of that, now you also have to be plugged in.
And then you come back, you get,
because that 30 watts of power is going to eat up that battery. So now you're down to, I think they actually forecasted, what was it? When you're in turbo mode, it was something like an hour of battery life.
Am I wrong? 30 minutes. You heard it here on the channel, Gaming for Insight. Now, one last comment here about these is I don't think many people, I could be wrong, but I found this interesting in reading. We're talking about the processor, we're talking about the hard drive, we're talking about the screen, the TDP. All of this is important for upscaling the resolution. But what about the LPDDR5? And I don't have hands-on experience with the LPDDR5, but the demand for it with these games, and I understand the bandwidth, or higher achieved bandwidths are done compared to the LPDDR4, but does the
30 minutes is all you need.
Can it hypothetically
sounds good
or potentially serve as a bottleneck in this whole experience? Brian, any thoughts? And I have a Switch too. And like you said, I keep mine on the dock. Might as well be a non-mobile console. Yeah.
So I am someone of the mindset where I understand the things that make these products appeal to me, and for handhelds in particular, the thing that really got me with the Nintendo Switch is the docking station. I have honestly used my Switch more on the docking station than off of the docking station.
And
I think
I had
the grand total of time that I've played it off the docking station since I bought it was maybe 20 hours tops.
And there was the PS Nintendo DS War. The Pocket Game Boy was my first Game Boy as well.
It's a Donkey Kong experience
on that.
Yeah,
and
so
Rita, you have a Switch.
That being said, I know I am past the point in my life where I'm aging myself right now, but I had an original Game Boy.
Dance Revolution.
My days of handhelds were my original Game Boy playing Tetris, into my Game Boy Pocket playing Pokemon, and then going into the Game Boy Color with more Pokemon and Zelda games and stuff like that. But pretty much Pokemon and Zelda were what I played on handhelds, and that's kind of the same thing that I do with the Switch. Is I play Zelda and Pokemon.
Lost many fans. I don't even want to look at the numbers right now. I hear you could put signs out in your yard with Animal Crossing. I haven't played it. I don't have. All right. Well, let's rescue our fan base. Let's not throw Animal Crossing out, and let's think about it.
Yeah, I have. I love it. It's very interactive.
All right. Well, yes. you heard the clarification.
Just Dance and sports game.
Okay. I would have pinned you for Animal Crossing person.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never played it.
Don't.
It'll okay. Okay. I'll stay away. If it's cute, I might get sucked in.
Oh, it's adorable. It's adorable.
Well, ROG Ally may be great for when you're locked out of the house.
Oh man, we could do a whole segment on Animal Crossing. That game is so ridiculous.
Play Animal Crossing, but could there be a way to do it? Someone looking on a way to port it.
I'm saying don't play it because it's good.
You can play Doom. So can many devices.
People like it.
If you want to get addicted to a really, and that's the thing, like you can come back to that game and just play it and then stop. It's basically like Farmville, except you're this one little dude and there's a bunch of little animal creatures on an island, and you build up the island and you're harvesting stuff and selling stuff. It's too fun because you don't have to think.
How do you feel about crabs, Andrew? What do you think? Crabs, how many do you
just living your life on an island?
Yeah, I see them. I run away. I don't want anything to do with crabs.
But it won't play Animal Crossing.
The restaurant, love it. You have to be careful. Really, it's a dangerous world out there.
It can play Doom.
ROG Ally, everyone. Let us know in the comments what you think. What should we talk about, if not everything else we've talked about on the ROG Ally? We will look forward to
that. Did math
in the comments.
They did math